Hello friends, in this video we'll be taking a look as to how to import a geometry into Ansys. As we had mentioned in the introduction tutorial, Ansys is a CAE software where a virtual analysis is going to be performed on a CAD model which has previously been created. So in 90% of the cases, the solid model on which the analysis is going to be performed will be created on any one of the CAD softwares, whichever you're comfortable with. Let us say these CAD softwares can be Solidworks, CATIA, Unigraphics, or anything whichever you're comfortable with, and in most of the cases they will be imported into Ansys. But bear in mind, this doesn't mean that you do not have any features where you can create a solid model in Ansys. You can still create basic solid models in Ansys, but the thing is the functionalities and the ease of creating it will not be as good as software such as Solidworks, CATIA, or whatever CAD modeling softwares you can think of. So we can summarize that in most of the cases that we will be seeing, the model will be created in softwares like Solidworks or CATIA, and they would be imported into Ansys. Okay, so before going any further, we should take a look about the file formats. Okay, so default file formats are the formats for a particular software. For example, if you are familiar with using SolidWorks, when you create a solid model and say file save as, it is by default being stored as .sldprt. If you have been using CATIA, then by default it will be stored as .catpart. Or if you have been using Creo, the default option is .prt. But always bear in mind that whenever a model has been saved as .sldprt, probably that will not open with CATIA. So a model which has been saved as a CATIA part will not open in SolidWorks. So this actually reduces the cross-platform compatibility. For example, you as a designer, you have been using a CATIA software and you have created a model in CATIA. But me at the other end, and if you're going to pass the model on to me, if you're going to outsource the project to someone else, and probably if I'm going to keep using SolidWorks, then I will never be able to access your files. That is one reason why neutral file formats have been developed, so that these file formats basically are neutral as the name suggests, and once the files have been saved in this format, this can be opened in any of the softwares. There's one more advantage of this. Let us consider that all the while we have been using SolidWorks 2017 and I save a file as .sldprt. Then by chance, if I'm going to use SolidWorks 16 in any other system, which is actually a backward version, previous version, then the file will not open. It will simply say future version. So in that case, you have to save the file in a neutral format and then open it with even in the previous versions. So when you save your file in the neutral format, it gives you two advantages. One is that you can open it in the back versions, in the previous versions of the same software, or you can open it with any other software. Okay. So what are these file formats? These most widely used file formats are .stp, which is called the step file, .iges, or parasolid, which is .x_t. You can actually store your model, you can save your model in any one of these three formats, and these three formats are the formats which Ansys can recognize. Always remember that you should always save your model if you're going to create it on any other software in one of these formats, so that they can easily open onto Ansys. Okay, so now let me just create a model on SolidWorks. Okay, let us say I have actually created this model in SolidWorks, and now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to save it as a parasolid file. Okay, so I'm going to say file save as and pressure vessel. So if you're normally going to say save, it will be .sldprt or .prt, and then if you go to save as types, you have a list of options where you have got parasolid here, .x_t, IGS, and step. The step AP203, AP214, you can save it in any one of these two, but for the time being I'll save it as parasolid and I'll say save. I previously saved it, so it is asking me if I want to replace it, and I'll say yes. Okay, So once I've done that, I'll also save a copy as IGS. Okay, so I'll go File, Save As, Part Solid, Save As type, and I'll say IGS. I'll say Save. Do you want to replace it? I'll say Yes. So the reason why I'm saving it as IGS is because I want to show you the difference between how Parasolid models are being read and how IGS models are being read. Okay, so let me just close this. Okay, I've got my Ansys open as well, Ansys Workbench open as well. So if you can take a look at the screen, so this is how your environment is going to look like. Okay, so you have two toolboxes, namely Analysis Systems, and if you can just scroll down, you have the Component Systems. So Analysis Systems is used as a complete project page. Okay, so just in case, here you have got different kinds of analysis that can be done, which is being shown. For example, you can start with buckling, explicit dynamics, fluid flow using Fluent, or you have modal analysis, you have structural, you have thermal analysis here, and so many different kinds of analysis. And over here you can have individual components within them. For example, just in case, what you can do is, for example, let us assume that I'm going to do a structural analysis. Then I can drag and drop this here. So it says create a standalone system. So I can just drag and drop it here, and then in the project schematic. So this is where your project pages are actually going to look. So it will take a few seconds, and see, a new project window has been created, and here you can see geometry, model, setup, results, and such options. Actually these options are available here as well. So you've got your geometry, you've got your mesh, which is actually mesh, setup, and model will come together, and then you have results tab also here. So either you can select it from the analysis system or the component systems. So as we keep doing new projects, we'll be seeing how to use them differently. And if you want to just delete it, right click on the downward triangle here and say delete. Yes. So it will get deleted. Okay, I will start by creating a new geometry. Okay, so I need to drag and drop this geometry onto the schematic, and I have to so now if you can see here, it gives you a question mark. So let us draw some of the indications that we come across. So when we have something like a question mark, okay, it means it is empty. So it is saying I am ready to create a geometry, but it is empty. There is no data inside it. So just double click it so that it takes you into the design modeler. So what is design modeler? The environment on Ansys where you can create, edit, or import geometries in solid models is called as the design modeler. So this is what you can see here, A geometry design modeler. A is actually the project index, so it is saying the geometry that is a design modeler of the project A. Okay, so once you are into this, to import the geometry, you should say File, Import External Geometry File, and then this is a very simple browsing option. You can just browse the file that you want to open. So you can say pressurevessel.txt and say open. Okay, and say generate. So here I have my pressure vessel. So the bar here is actually called the status bar. So if you can see here, we have a green tick and it says ready. So when you have a green tick here, it means I will probably use a brush. Let's say green brush. Okay. This should also maybe be green. And a green tick, which means ready, right? So everything is okay. If there's a green tick, it means the model has been successfully brought in. Okay, so I'll go back to my design modeler, and let me now import the same model but which was saved as IGS. So the source is actually being shown here inside the details view. In the next video, we'll actually be seeing about these panes, in detail. So, but for the time being, you can actually change the source here. Okay. So, if I'm going to replace this parasolid import with a new import which is going to be of the type IGS, I'm going to get an error message. Let us see what it is. So, if I select this here and I say pressure vessel.igs and say open, see, I'm getting a warning saying cannot change the file type. So when the basic import is going to be parasolid, then the changeover or the replacing file should also be parasolid. But if you still want to change it with IGS format, then you can go to import, right click and say delete this import so that it forgets the import. Now you can create a fresh import external geometry file, and now you can say parasolid pressure vessel.igs, open and say generate. Look what happens. Something interesting is going to happen. See here, the model has been successfully imported, but there is some feature errors. So what is that? The hemispherical structures here had to be on the opposite side, but due to some reason the file that was being saved as IGS is reading it as if it is in the inside direction, which is actually wrong. So this is actually prompted by a yellow tick here. So this yellow tick actually means the model has been imported, but there is something wrong with the model. The same tick can be seen here as well. So always see next to the import. If there's a green tick, it means everything is fine. If there is a yellow tick, it means something is wrong. So this is what is the difference between parasolid and IGS files. IGS files will actually work perfectly in most of the cases, but just in case there are a few complex, this is not complex, but if there are models where there are even more complex fillets, rivets, or maybe chamfers or holes and such features, then those features will actually get neglected if it is being stored as IGS. So this is what is actually called as data corruption. One of the advantages of parasolid is that this data corruption is actually very minimum when compared to other file formats like IGS. So this is what you have seen now. So it is always advisable to actually save it as parasolid, but still, out of my experience, I can tell you that IGS will work perfectly fine in many cases, in most of the cases. But theoretically, IGS has got a little data corruption, which you can see in this import. And now let me probably delete this import. Yeah, and this is the way you can import the model in Solidworks in Ansys. So always ensure that if you are going to change the model, replace the model, it will be shown here at the source, and it should also be of the same parent type. That is, if you are going to change a parasolid model with another model, that should also be a parasolid. If it is in any other format like IGS or step, please delete the import by right clicking here and saying delete and create it as a fresh import from file. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.